you started for a couple of years ago this amazing company called Denominator, and and I know it was not easy in the beginning, but you are now seeing the push, because the issue is that all the data that you're providing is what we want to see according to the regulations. So if you should say a couple of words, and also just to guide people, because many of the data that you work with is not just data that they maybe can find the existing processes and so on. So how do you get started? How do you work with this?
Yeah, no, and I think, of course, legislation is important, but I think, also to what you mentioned, and just now with the next gen of investors, right? The consumers of the future, they care, and this is where we can take all the regulations aside. The companies that do this well will win. But yeah, there are many companies that are struggling getting started, which you also alluded to. Where do you host this data? Do you even collect it? And again, and I think many procurement and supply chain operations were set up as risk operations, meaning that they were doing first for the financial risk, just so that they couldn't get the goods, so they could produce their own goods. Then you had sanctions risk, then you had cyber risk, but everything was risk generated, and no one really thought about the purchasing opportunities from the new consumers, and this is where a lot of this data comes in. But yeah, effectively, the good news is that this type of data is starting to become available broadly, and it's not as hard because most companies already have the systems in place where they're able to see, what is our spend from a credit risk perspective, or what is our spend from an emission perspective, or cyber risk, and they have those in categories. It's just adding another category to that. But yeah, so I would just say that in general, legislation or no legislation, the future consumers are driving this, and the data is here now, and the big organizations are realizing it and acting on it.